Today, we are finally adding a proper university to Marathon Cove. But we have a problem. None of the vanilla assets fit our Southern California theme. So I did what any reasonable city planner and real-life dean would do. I commissioned one myself. This is a completely modular University of San Diego-inspired asset. It's Spanish Revival architecture, it's massive, and it's beautiful. But here's the catch. We're not building it on flat ground. We're going to attempt to terrace this entire massive complex onto some of the toughest hills in Marathon Cove. My name is College Builder. I work as a college dean by day, and by night, I play Cities Skylines too. Let's build a university. Welcome to my Southern California-inspired city, Marathon Cove. This is episode 23. Let's begin with an overview of this stunning new asset by Macwelshman. He's done a remarkable job once again. It's listed under the Education and Research menu as the University of San Diego, along with the other universities. The main asset features 3 courtyards, multiple buildings, and an entrance gate. The architecture is Spanish Renaissance, based on 16th century buildings in Spain that showcase strong Moorish and Arabic influences. Spanish Renaissance buildings emerged as part of the broader Spanish Revival style in the Americas. In the U.S., especially in California, Texas, and Florida, Spanish Revival became very popular in the early 1900s. The style also appeared throughout Latin America. Many of the buildings at the University of San Diego were constructed in the mid-1900s, but they intentionally drew on these Spanish influences to emphasize their Catholic identity. This main asset is a masterpiece, but it is just the beginning. There are 5 more sub-buildings that fit together for a modular campus. The first is the School of Arts. It offers several citywide enhancements and increases capacity by 1,000 students. This U-shaped building features a central courtyard at the back, a striking facade, and rows of arches on both the front and the back. Since it functions as a sub-building, you can place it away from the main asset to create the feel of a larger campus. I love this walled section at the rear of the courtyard, and it's already equipped with bicycle racks for commuting students. Next is the School of Law upgrade. It adds more citywide improvements, including reducing crime and increasing the capacity by another 1,000 students. Like the School of Arts, it is U-shaped and includes a rear parking lot in its courtyard. The School of Science is the third upgrade, adding space for 1,000 more students. It also boosts efficiency in electronics and software production across the city. This is one of my favorites. Its entrance is very grand, with impressive stairs and tall columns. The roof is unique with a skylight, giving you a view down to the tables and chairs in the atrium below. As a science building, it features a greenhouse on the roof, and each of the 2 rear corners is topped with a small tower. The weathered back of the building adds a lot of character, and I love that you can see through the glass into the atrium with its columns. The fourth upgrade is the Student Union. This sub-building offers entertainment and indoor recreation, serving as a destination for city residents. It's absolutely stunning. It has a tall tower that gives it a distinctive Spanish Revival look. Many Spanish Revival buildings feature towers to emulate the historic bell towers of California missions and Spanish Baroque churches. There are various small balconies on the building, along with an arcade around the base. The building is square-shaped with a central multi-story courtyard surrounded by arches and balconies. The final sub-building is the student dormitory. It's much smaller than the others, and unlike the rest, you can place it multiple times. Along with these 6 buildings, you'll find a 7th companion building in the education menu. This is a walkway prop you can use freely around the other buildings. Before we start construction, check out the vanilla game university and college assets for a comparison. Some are larger, some are smaller, but none offer the modularity that Macwelshman's fantastic university provides. I hope this sets a new standard for Cities Skylines too. We need the ideal campus location, somewhere that will support future city growth. You may recall we built Marathon University over a year ago on the other side of the map. This was intended to be a smaller liberal arts college. What we really need now is a full university campus with both graduate and undergraduate programs. For this new campus, let's consider the other side of the map. We designed a large star-shaped interchange as preparation for our future downtown. If we look near this interchange, up in the hills, we'll find some very challenging terrain. Let's begin by acquiring some new map tiles. There is nothing in this area besides the highway that leads to the peninsula and our resort island. The terrain is challenging, but I love the idea of creating a mountaintop campus that offers stunning views for its students. To develop in this area, we'll need a new highway junction and an arterial road to bring in traffic. For now, we'll create a simple diamond junction between the star-shaped interchange and downtown, as close to the mountains as possible. We haven't really discussed the backstory for this area, why it developed after the downtown. But for now, let's assume that our future downtown will have a more grid-like layout, while this area away from downtown has more curves due to how development happened around the mountain range. What we can say is that when the founders looked to build a new campus, they were inspired by the hills and mountains near to the city center, so they turned to the empty land available at the time. This area just outside the center grew quickly in the 1950s, as was common for many Southern California cities, and that expansion was supported by the growth of the highway system. For our campus, we've chosen the hilltop location, but it will need to be terraced to accommodate our modular campus buildings. We wouldn't want to flatten it completely. Where would be the fun in that? Let's imagine 4 different terraces descending from the upper campus to the lower campus. We'll try to let the terrain guide us, following its curves and ridges where possible, and aiming to build within the environmental context. Some of these landscaping changes might not be practical, but our goal is a campus design that fits the context and appears as if it could have been built on the original topography. As you can see, the main university asset is quite large, and this is just one of the buildings. So, in creating our terraces, we want to be mindful of the context, but also allow some flexibility if we need to make a few adjustments. You can see the 4 distinct terraces, which serve as our starting point, although we will likely need to modify the terrain as we progress. Let's place the main asset now. It's key for establishing scale. The small pedestrian street is perfect for lighting our quadrangle. We want our campus to feel pedestrian and bike-friendly, although some vehicle access will be necessary. The challenging part of this project will be maintaining connectivity as the campus transitions from one terrace to another. To create the illusion of stairs, let's use the horizontal pillar prop from Find It, extending it with the Advanced Line tool. Then we can move to the next highest terrace, adjusting for the hilltop's contour. This terrace will house the School of Science, while the School of Law will be positioned across from the main campus building. The next lower terrace needs some leveling, and we'll create a gentle slope to connect the stairs down the hill. Continuing with the pedestrian street, the quad will change direction again and will be home to our School of Arts. We'll place the stairway and use the Move It mod to adjust any individual steps. With 3 terraces drawn out, let's finish the terraforming for the lowest level terrace. This one required a bit more land movement, but we'll assume this was more or less the natural terrain. 2 more sets of stairs connect one level to the next, and from there, we will draw out our final set of pedestrian streets. This quad will feature the Student Union at the very end, marking the capstone of our university buildings. Now, we just need a few adjustments. For example, we'll shift the science building to the other side to balance out the assets, and we'll add a pair of dormitories to each open spot. Our campus already looks incredible. Let's now take the arch walkway that comes with the asset and place one in between each pair of dorms. I just like the way this looks, connecting them together. This modular university is absolutely beautiful. The 4 terraces and quads are just the beginning. Right now, each terrace is isolated. We need to connect them so that pedestrians, bikes, and cars can move easily between all of them. And we also need to link the campus to the arterial road and the highway. As we expand and connect, let's add some pedestrian paths with key walls to emphasize the distinction between the terraces and the hilltop location. Parking roads with retaining walls also reveal the height difference. You can imagine that as they built the structures, they had to place some parking on different levels due to the topography. Our goal is to make these separate levels and terraces blend seamlessly, while also designing roads for vehicles outside the quads. Each asset in the set has its own parking, so we need roads that connect to each building. Speaking of vehicle access, let's design a grand entrance road that guides people up the mountain and to the main entrance. Due to the shape of the hills, this road will need to curve around and gradually ascend to the top. Let's bring the arterial from the highway along between the base of the mountain and the lake. It will eventually curve off to a new development. The Grand Avenue to the university entrance will connect to this arterial. Although we haven't yet established bike routes in Marathon Cove, we want to start developing bike infrastructure now by adding bike lanes to this avenue. From this entrance roundabout, we will build roads that circle around the outside of the buildings and the quads. These roads will connect to each quad, providing access to the parking lots and allowing service vehicles to reach all areas of campus. We are using alley roads right now, but I think we'll need to come back and eventually upgrade them to wider roads with bike lanes. Let's keep adding more pedestrian paths to create a well-connected campus. Additionally, parking is also necessary since the main university building has 400 employees and each sub-building generates jobs as well. A few more roads will help us connect to the rear of the science quad and bring in vehicles to the main quad and the School of Science. Of course, no large university campus would be complete without some sports facilities. For now, a football and soccer field should be sufficient, but we may want to expand on that as the campus comes together. Since these sport fields are technically parks in the game, they will increase the area's attractiveness and meet the leisure needs of our citizens. They will also increase parking needs. Let's be sure to add a few more staircases and connecting paths so we can move people efficiently between all these areas. The parking lot is useless if there isn't a clear walking route to their jobs. Invisible pedestrian pathways are essential for making stairs functional and for creating paths that utilize only surfaces. All of these infrastructure upgrades are critical. They allow faculty and staff to come to and from campus with ease. They create routes for students to move between their classes and dorms. They make our parking functional. In short, the infrastructure helps bring the campus to life. With these big pieces in place, let's turn to detailing our main quadrangle. For those unfamiliar with the term, a quadrangle or quad is generally a four-sided open space at a college or university. Historically, these would be enclosed by buildings on all four sides, but it's possible, as seen here, for the space to be open on one or even two sides, as long as it still conveys the idea of four-sided geometry. A quad serves as a central hub for student life, providing a grassy landscaped area for relaxation, studying, socializing, and community events. Before I became a college dean, I did my PhD work at a university where each quad had its own name. We are calling this the main quad because of the main building. We're using a combination of pedestrian paths and surfaces to create an ornate gathering space. The middle stretch uses carefully manicured grass, and the central oval is flanked by brick, 8-pointed star-shaped patterns, often found in Spanish and Islamic art. Given that the campus is designed in a Spanish Revival style, I felt these geometric symbols were appropriate for our detailing. If you have traveled to Andalusia in the south of Spain, you will find symbols like these on buildings and art everywhere you go. For now, the remainder of the main quad will be decorated with palm trees and rows of flowers and shrubs. This is a very grand space, and perhaps the heart of campus. It should feel like a showpiece for students, families, and alumni. While the main quad is very symmetrical in its design, we are going to do something a bit different with the Science Quad, which we've named for the School of Science. For this one, we are going to make a series of asymmetrical spaces, including some areas students might want to sit and study or have a conversation. At one end, near the top of the stairs, we've placed the Spanish-style fountain, sitting on a brick surface and surrounded with formal hedges. Let's then place some temporary pedestrian paths as guides to help us expand the layout. We can divide the quad into distinct areas using squares and circles and then removing the guide paths. Another ornate fountain will sit inside a circular pedestrian walkway with garden hedges on both sides. Below the fountain, we will use our brick surfaces to create another 8-pointed geometric pattern, which will maintain design consistency between the top two terraces. Using a yellow brick surface, let's create new walkways to the circular fountain, and then create walkways around the hedges. These walkways will become quiet areas for reflection as we surround them with another outer hedge. Up until now, we've been creating our patterns freehand without much assistance. However, you can see here that my hastily created squares look like a mess. We can try to work with it for a while, but for some reason I just couldn't get these to do what I want. Let's come back to them later. More pedestrian paths will surround our quiet hedge walkways. We've created so many ways to move around the space, using geometry as our primary design principle. Perhaps this is appropriate for our Science Quad. Although this is asymmetric, the goal is to tie it all together so that it still feels like the different parts belong together. Adding some manicured grass is a nice addition to the formal center. We'll extend our pathways from the square fountain area so that it all connects together, and then make sure it is all surrounded by grass. Invisible pedestrian pathways will create connections where we have only used surfaces rather than the vanilla paths. Trees will fill in this one square, making it look like a dense wooded area. Now, let's take our small bushes and flowers to create some landscaped borders. Brown dirt can be used to make flower beds, and we will plant them with our smaller, delicate flowers. This last section will have manicured grass, and then we can begin to add more trees and bushes around the quad. Palm trees give it the Southern California feel. But all of this grass looks a little too pristine. It lacks depth and character. We can use some of Sully's sand decals to create patches that look like the grass is worn down. You may have noticed that our horizontal pillar was a little problematic. It caused the ground around it to sink down. I've downloaded Harbor Master J's pillar props, which don't override the terraforming. These are much easier to place and look so much better on the hillside. A few concrete surfaces help us close the gaps between the stairs and our paths. And then we can start using Sully's riverbed surfaces to create a bit of rugged land between the stairs and our quads. We can fill in the open area with bushes and boulders, making this little slope much more natural in comparison to the carefully sculptured quadrangles. Some pedestrian paths with a key wall turned on will give us a nice walkway, connecting to our parking lot stairs. Let's now return to those misshapen squares we tried to create. I realized we didn't need to do them freehand. We can temporarily place a small square 1x1 pocket park, draw our brick surface over it, and then delete the park, leaving the brick surface behind. This is so much easier for creating our 8-pointed stars. I just wish I had thought of it sooner. We'll place the medium pocket park at the end of the quad, replacing the default surface with our own brick one. And with that, our Science Quad feels nearly complete. Let's just add a few basketball courts to the open space and give them a custom Sully decal. There's more to do, but as of right now, I think this quad is absolutely beautiful. Moving down to the lower campus, we can start detailing the Arts Quad using the same park technique. This time, we will use one of the longer parks, placing 4 of them with anarchy on in order to achieve the desired design. We will outline them with our 2 brick surfaces, remove the parks, and then extend the surfaces to create our full walkways. Edges from the NetLanes menu are perfect for lining these paths. Starting with triangular corners, we will then create a curved connecting piece to make the design more distinctive. On college and university campuses, you can find all kinds of interesting gardens, bushes, walkways, fountains, and even forests. I once worked on a campus with a duck pond, and I've seen others with rivers running through them. Some universities are designated botanic gardens, and others are accredited arboretums. It all might seem a bit much, but the outdoor environment is typically considered extremely important for our campus, with universities maintaining large ground crews for the care and maintenance. For many, the care and beauty of the campus is a source of pride. The curb appeal may be part of the attraction for potential students and their families. And of course, for students who live and learn on campus, they typically need more than just book stacks and classrooms to maintain their well-being. The outdoor space fosters important social connections and can help a student improve their mental health. Beyond all that, the campus quads can become an extension of the classroom, with faculty holding lectures outdoors when the weather permits. When I was a teaching assistant back in my grad school days, I sometimes even held office hours outside. So, for our university, these quadrangles are extremely important, and with our beautiful Southern California weather, I'm sure they will be frequently used by students to play frisbee, read a book, host a drum circle, or simply take a nap. Let's make sure our bike lanes connect into the lower campus terraces. We should also add our invisible pedestrian paths so that the various walkways will be used. I can't wait to see our citizens crisscrossing these spaces. Now it's time to redo our stairs from the main quad down, just as we did up to the science quad. Since this prop doesn't alter the landscape, the trick is to get our own terraforming just right so that the stairs appear to rest against the hill. With the Arts Quad, we have finished another completely unique space for the university community to enjoy. Let's take a brief pause and start to fill in some of the empty spaces around these first 3 quads. There are so many details we can add, such as placing these tennis courts by the School of Law and adding wraparound pedestrian path to connect to the outer road. The path with the quay walls on automatically creates a railing on the side and is perfect for terraforming the land, so we show the height difference in our terraces. The bike lanes here provide extra connection for the upper campus, although I still don't think we have any cyclists in this area. Currently, the only way to reach campus is via the highway to the arterial, then onto the main entrance avenue. We need to dedicate significant time to developing bike infrastructure across Marathon Cove, from the estates in Cape Vista down to Marathon University, Sunrise Channel, out to the vineyards of the San Carlos Hills, and into Verano. Building that infrastructure is a project for another video, but it will take some time to accomplish. If you have ideas on how to bring bikes to Marathon Cove, please share them. I'd love to work on implementing your suggestions. In the meantime, let's continue filling in these spaces. Initially, I wanted to keep the natural terrain visible, but as the campus developed, I felt it needed some kind of grass texture. We've tried mixing the plain grass with the manicured grass, but as we already mentioned, these lack depth and variety. It would be great if we had a grass texture that looked cared for, but that also had a dimension like our terrain. One way to introduce variety is to add the sand decals like we already did. These worn spots are good for edges, under trees and bushes, or just in random places. Another option is to use the Terrain Surfaces pack from Gaga XM. This pack comes with so many overlays, including moss, subtle grass variations, and of course, tiny flowers. It can be a lot of work to go back and add these patches to the plain grass, but for now, this seems like the best option. In the end, it is all worth it, and the Terrain Surfaces pack is honestly one of my favorites. When we combine everything together, the plain and manicured grass, the wild and small flowering bushes, the hedges and the trees, and finally the sand decals and grass overlays, it all sort of fits and makes for a campus landscape that feels plausible and not too clean. Now, all that's left is to finish off the final terrace and then try to get some students to attend. This campus will be magnificent. This last space is the Student Union Quad, named for the Student Union building that sits at the very end. In this space, I think we want to recognize the university's religious identity. The real-life University of San Diego, not to be confused with the University of California in San Diego, is a Catholic university. While our campus can be anything we want it to be, I like the idea of giving it a religious affiliation, and so we will place the cross monument by Rosira and use the 8-pointed star design around it. In front of the monument, we should create a space for reflection on the big questions of life, whether that is religious, philosophical, or a place in the grand universe. Using the vanilla curb nut lane, we will outline a long formal pool and fill it with a reflective water surface. This seems like the perfect place to sit and ponder life's meaning. The two ends of the pool will be bordered by a pedestrian path, and then we can fill the space with the manicured grass surface. But it's still a student union quad, so we should have some informal seating areas for students to gather, whether they're studying or eating, down at the opposite end. This quad has a nice mix in terms of its design and the various spaces, and once again, it looks quite different from the others. Let's add some extra parking down by the student union since city residents might come to attend a function here. Remember, the student union provides citywide entertainment and satisfies some indoor leisure need. Lining all of these grass spaces with rows of bushes and flowers helps create definition and enhances the beauty of the quad. We have finished 4 different terraces, 4 different quadrangles, and each completely different. I would love to know which is your favorite. It's time to put in the finishing touches, any remaining detailing that needs to be done to make this campus feel complete. Let's add a little more parking to the periphery road. The hill between the main quad and the arts quad needs some grass, as well as depth from the overlays. This lawn is more manicured than the last slope, but we should still add some bushes here and there. I can imagine students sunning themselves on this hill. The bike infrastructure should be upgraded in a few more places, showing that this campus is trying to accommodate many modes of transportation. Although we will not tackle it today, we definitely need to think about our bus system in a future episode. While the various lawns are mostly well kept, let's add another bit of rough California landscape that has been left natural. It's good to have a mix, which is common for many campuses. Over here by the School of Arts, let's place another outdoor seating park where students can have a bite or meet with their professors during office hours. We'll use this patio as an opportunity to create another of our Spanish and Islamic-inspired 8-pointed star designs. Most of the remaining spaces just need a bit of landscaping. Some plain and manicured grass, some hedges divide up spaces, some borders made of small flowers and bushes, and of course, many California palm trees. In a number of open areas, we can increase connectivity with pedestrian pathways, and we should make sure all of our custom stairways are functional. I love this part of the detailing phase. It is not just city painting. Some of it is purely decorative to make sure we are capturing the theme and aesthetics that fit this part of our region. But many of these small details are both design relevant and functional. They provide routes for our citizens to walk or bike, they make car parks more relevant, and they generally aid with our citizen flow. And don't forget, trees also help reduce noise pollution. They are not purely decorative. I like to let our imagination guide us, but also think about where we can make practical improvements. Hopefully, in a future DLC, we will see enhancements to the university and park systems in the game, at which point much of our approach here could change. What we have built so far occupies 4 terraces, but I think it could be helpful if the last terrace with our student union is made distinct from the land beneath it. We want it to feel like you're coming to the edge of the terrace and looking down below. In adding a small path around the student union, we can then do a bit of terraforming to create this distinction. I tried the double path with the bike lane, but I think the regular small path will do better. Let's try to make this a bit of a feature, as though you could go for a walk out around the Student Union. Perhaps it even serves as a makeout point in the evening. Now we just need to blend in the surrounding terrain to keep it looking natural, and then let's clean up our manicured grass at the point. This is a special place and perhaps serves as an outdoor venue for small gatherings and formal receptions. A few sand decals will keep it from looking too perfect. Continuing with the cleanup, we will smooth the terrain on the other side and then place boulders at the end of the point, along with some of our natural chaparral shrubland. While most of these terraces have been transformed from their original state, being smoothed out and carefully landscaped into gardens, the Southern California chaparral biome reminds us of where we are and that it is simply not feasible to tame all of the mountains. But we have accomplished the goal we set out in the beginning: create an incredible mountaintop campus using very challenging terrain and these stunning new modular assets. I think we have more than reached our target. Of course, every university needs a name. Since our city is only inspired by San Diego, we need something else. Let's look to our wine region for our patron saint and call this the San Carlos University. Stepping back, I am absolutely enchanted by what we created. This was no easy task, but our university is perched atop the mountain, ready for students, faculty, and staff to arrive. Macwelshman's gorgeous assets helped us transform this area. If you've enjoyed this build or found any inspiration, please give the video a like and let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you consider following my YouTube channel, and of course, please consider watching the next video on the screen.